So welcome everybody tonight to the third and final McGann Playground Community Meeting. My name is Lauren Bryant and I'm the project manager for this project. Before we get started tonight, just want to go over a couple of how-tos and what to expect. Next slide, please. Just want to make sure that you guys all know that tonight's meeting is being recorded and it'll be available on our project website within about a week. In case you don't know about the project website, we will drop that link in the chat for you in just a second. And we know that not everybody can make the meeting tonight. So please feel free to share what you learn with your friends and neighbors, and also feel free to direct them to the project website so they can view the recording whenever their schedule allows. Next slide, please. We've had a lot of really great meetings for this project already, so I sort of feel like we can slide past this slide because we've done such a great job. But just as a reminder, let's just be respectful to everyone on the call. Next slide. Here's a quick overview of Zoom for those of you who may not be as familiar. If you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to add them to the chat, which is the text bubble icon at the bottom of your screen. You can also raise your hand virtually by clicking on the reactions button, which is also at the bottom of your screen. Hopefully that takes care of housekeeping info. Next slide, please. So now on to the actual project, the fun stuff. So thank you guys again for coming out tonight and for sharing your time. I want to introduce the team tonight, and then we'll do a quick project overview and then a review of what we've heard at our first couple of meetings. Then we'll go into the presentation for the final design concept for the park and get your feedback about that. And then we'll be able to open it up for just general presentation questions and discussion. For those of you who may have joined a little bit late, my name is Lauren Bryant. I'm the project manager for Boston Parks for this project. Christine Brandeo is our outreach coordinator, and she is with us on the Zoom meeting tonight as well. We also have our design team from G2 Collaborative, and we've got Patricia Noto, who will be presenting tonight, and also Gigi Saltonstall and Lisa Gearbach. Next. As I was saying earlier, this is our third public meeting for this project, although we've had more interactions with the public than just 2 meetings. We had our first meeting on July 15th, and right after that, we had a pop-up in the park where we got to meet a lot of people that I see some familiar faces, which is great. We also had a second community meeting on Zoom on September 22nd, and then a second pop-up on the site on September 27th. We were able to get a lot of really great feedback, and what was really awesome is also getting to see a lot of the kids in the neighborhood playing on the park, which really helped us get a feel for what they did, what things they might want to see instead, and got a lot of really great feedback from the parents as well as the kids. So tonight, we're here for our third public meeting where we're going to share a refined design based on all of that feedback that we've collected. And then after we hear from you guys tonight, we'll be able to see, did we get it right? Did we hear you guys? Are there still things we need to tweak? And then once we make those changes, we'll take that and make that our final design, do design documents for that and put it out to bid over the winter, and then hopefully start construction in the spring and be back open to the public anticipated in the fall of 2022. And then as a reminder, the construction estimate is $685,000. So before I turn it over to the designers, just want to say thanks again for joining us and for sharing your thoughts, because this is your guys' park. And we really do want to make sure that we hear from you on whether we got it right and you guys like what we have to share with you tonight. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patricia.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Great. So we just wanted to start by reviewing a little bit of our second community meeting and the feedback that we heard. Again, as Lauren said, we're happy to see some familiar names and faces. So this is just a quick review since most of you have seen us already. This is just an existing conditions plan of what's on site right now. And so at our last community meeting, we presented these 3 kind of different layout schemes and kind of ended up pushing forward scheme C the most, as we felt it had the most of the elements that we heard great feedback from you all about having, this trike loop, and then really liking this central play area. And we felt it was a nice hybrid between the two schemes in the end. And then speaking of the feedback that we heard from you all, we heard lots of great things about what you all like. Again, really liking the trike loop, the kind of having a visibility between different play areas, especially for different age groups. People said they really love the natural elements already on site, and so wanting to keep the trees and open space. We heard lots about wanting more climbing and spinning, maybe having some rock handholds. People liked the intergenerational games already on site, like tic-tac-toe and things like steering wheels. And then we also heard people liking play mounds, seesaws and swings, water play, maybe introducing a big slide. And then we talked a little bit about furnishings on site, and people were asking about ADA accessibility, and then also a couple conversations about access to the golf course. And then some concerns that came up were, could we keep the play away from the back fence because of a concern about golf balls? And then we also heard from some neighbors along the kind of east side, the residential side of the property, who were not wanting to introduce any kind of noisy play along that fence line. And then kind of throughout, the traffic on West Street has come up, and wanting to kind of screen from that a little bit and make sure gates are secure. So with that, I think we'll go into just an overall plan of kind of where we've landed, and then we'll talk about more specifically about the 2 to 5-year-old play area, and then 2 options that we're considering for the 5 to 12 area that we'd love to get your feedback on. And then a couple small things like furnishing and water play. So this is our overall plan, and we just kind of wanted to go through the layout, and after this we'll discuss more of details of like different types of play and what these elements are. But just in general, our entrances will remain the same of where they are right now, and you'll kind of enter into this space that has a central water play feature, as well as some site furnishings like benches and picnic tables and a water fountain. We have our central 5 to 12-year-old play space right in the middle here, and then to the east of that is a 5 to 12-year-old set of swings, which is 4 swings total, and then a seesaw. And then kind of across the way, there is our 2 to 5-year-old play space with, again, a set of swings. So that's two swings total on this side, and then a 2 to 5-year-old kind of post and platform piece of equipment. And then to the side of that is our naturalistic play area, which is kind of like a mulched area with logs and boulders. And then our trike loop kind of knits together the whole space, and that's our kind of main circulation loop, which we're just zooming into here a little bit. So we had heard, people liked that the loop was kind of pulling you into the space. And then since then, we also kind of added a couple other paths just to add a little bit of challenge and interest. So they're kind of twists and turns that take you through this trike loop. So we'll delve into the 2 to 5-year-old play space a little, and then maybe just pause to see if anyone has any comments about this particular area. So just as a kind of note in general, we're going to be talking about color later on in the presentation. So throughout the presentation, you'll see renderings of equipment in different colors, and at the end, we'll kind of talk about 2 options for different color schemes. So this piece we're really excited about for the 2 to 5-year-olds. We just feel it has a lot of climbing opportunity and different types of climbing in play. So like we have this conical climber with those almost like rock climber handholds that we thought was really fun. And then almost more of like a social climber with this double net climber on the side. And there's, a fun twisty slide a tunnel that kind of connects the two sides of this post and deck piece, and then this pilot panel with the steering wheels that people had mentioned they really liked. So this slide just kind of shows this in plan, and then just some examples of what these pieces look like actually in use, and gives you a bit more of a clear idea of the scale of some of these things. So this is the piece that I was just talking about. We'd also love to include a couple freestanding panels that could have like a game on it, such as tic-tac-toe, if you all were excited about that. And then we liked the storefront panel as well as a kind of additional imaginative play piece. And then this also shows you where the 2 to 5-year-old swings will be. So we thought we would pause here quickly, and if anyone wants to unmute or write any notes in the chat, just any kind of first impressions about the 2 to 5-year-old piece. You can flip back through them while people are thinking about any comments they might have.
There's another playground that has a storefront thing that we liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It also has like a thing that it's kind of like that, but it's like a car shape instead. That we do.
Were you can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, we can.
Was this an area where you were gonna have those little like things you can search for? You know, like the little like locations, you know, like items that you can find, like a hide and seek kind of, not hide and seek, but I forget what it's called, like a I was referring to before. There's another place over at the community center that has little things that kids can identify to search and find, kind of. Was that included in this area or any other areas?
It hasn't so far, but we could definitely look at including it. Just going to go back to the overall plan. I think the naturalistic play area would be a place to consider including that, because that's kind of the mulched area.
No, I had just seen it. I seen those like the red things on the handles. I thought that might have been it. Can you go back to one of the other pictures? Yeah.
Was
So
it this one?
No, the other one. Yeah. So those red things, I thought maybe like there was one playground that's over by the municipal building that has like little things around the play structure that kids can identify, like a smiley face or a little I forget what's there. I remember seeing kids identify them as they went through the playground. It seemed kind of cool. So
Yeah, we can take a look into that as sort of like a theming kind of a thing, is what you're talking about, I think.
yeah, it's just like a little discovery thing. Like you know, they just were able to identify different things. And I saw little kids when I was over there one time, just finding them, and they were excited about it. So I thought it'd be kind of cool.
So they're actually on the play equipment itself?
Yeah, in the playground by the municipal building, they have them like on this structure. There might be like 3 of them, like on 3 different sides, and then on another structure they have like a few of them. And I don't know the makeup of it, but they're just like little, like those red things, but they're like different items, and kids can identify them. So it's not huge. It's just one thing that I thought about. So
Okay, cool. And I saw Chrissy's question in the chat about replacing the wood chips, and yes, they will be replaced with the poured in place rubber surfacing that you see at a lot of the playgrounds that we do in Boston now. And there's an opportunity there for some color and some patterning as well. And David, that could even be a place where if there are little things to find, there could be some of those and you know, mixed in with the surfacing too, patterns.
okay, no, that's cool.
Any other thoughts or questions about the 2 to 5-year-old area?
I think overall it looks good though, just for a positive comment.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there may be some photos where there are wood chips, but we won't be including those, just to show the play piece. Okay, well, we can also circle back to this at the end if anyone thinks of anything they want to add about this area. Okay, so now we'll go into kind of two options for the 5 to 12-year-old play space. And just a note that in both schemes, this area with the swings would stay the same. It's really just a couple different options for the central 5 to 12-year-old area. So this rendering gives you an idea of kind of all of the play pieces in relation to each other. And another note about rendering is that the play company rendered this with kind of grass in between, but it of course will have, like that plan I was showing earlier, will have all of our paths and furnishings in it and won't be grass. But this allows you to kind of focus on the equipment and where they are in relation to each other. So the main difference between our scheme A and scheme B for this area is that A looks at kind of separating out between different pieces, whereas in B, you'll see all of the play is in one structure. So that's the main difference. So we're really excited about this piece. This is kind of the main structure for our scheme A option. It has lots of different types of climbers. It has some net climbing. It has this really fun balance belt bridge, and also includes some other fun balance elements like these kind of wobble pods. It has some interesting sensory play, you'll see in another photo, like a bongo panel and some other kind of panels where you can move things around. In addition to 2 slides, this set of images is again, maybe not the colors we would go with, and we wouldn't have the mulch, but just to give you an idea of kind of the scale and kids using the space. So it has this really fun taller slide, this kind of net bridge across, and lots of different climbers happening throughout. And then with this scheme, because this piece doesn't include a spinner attached to it, we were looking at including a spinner such as this one that would be separate from it. And we like this a lot because, you know, you can have lots of users on it. It's super interactive and social. And then another thing we're looking at with scheme A is to include another climbing structure that's kind of has that nice ground climbing, but then also some opportunities to get you up a little bit more. So that is kind of the overview of scheme A. Just to go back to, this was the overall layout. And then for scheme B, as I said, this is the option that combines all of the play into one element. And so it's this central area here. Again, looking at it in relation to the rest of the playground. So we really like that this has that kind of fun, taller slide, and the way that you get up to it is to climb up through this net climber. So this this option definitely has kind of more net climbing to it. It also has some really fun, challenging pieces like this. I think it's called a swiggle knot, but it's kind of like allows for almost this kind of ropes course element to it, as well as having a set of monkey bars. And again, along with that kind of ropes course thing, we liked this connecting panel and felt like it kind of allowed for this circuiting, and almost like you could go through this almost as if it were an obstacle course. And so that portal connects you over to the other side, which has another slide, as well as some more net climbing. And then again, just to show some images of what these pieces look like in use. We had heard about wanting some rock climbing elements, so we would have this climber included. Another view of that kind of cool twisted net climber, the double slide, and then again monkey bars, and the spinning element for this option is kind of on the side here, included in it. And so I think we'll pause here and hopefully hear some feedback from you all if there are pieces within that you're gravitating towards, if one scheme is really speaking to you. we'd love to hear your feedback.
And again, just as a reminder, that colors are something we'll talk about later. So don't choose one of these options just based on color. Think of it from the play value perspective of it and which one you think makes more sense for how you know the kids in the neighborhood use it, whether they'd like the multiple different elements or whether you think having them all combined would be something they would enjoy more. Anybody have any thoughts, or do you guys just like them both so much you don't know what to pick?
So I asked my son, who's a bit older, which one he thinks he likes, and he said Scheme B. Which I kind of, at first I like Scheme A because I think it's nice to have them separated, but then looking at Scheme B, being able to go through it as like a straight course is always fun. So I think I'll vote for Scheme B.
Just out of curiosity, David, how old is your son?
He's 20.
Perfect.
But
That counts. He's a
but
kid
we-
at heart. That's
Well,
fine.
we've lived here 15 years, so he's actually been over there to play at different times on the existing structures. So
Great. Great. Yeah, so he knows how this place gets used. Yeah.
yeah, he's home on break though, so I figured I'd ask him while he's here.
Good, no, definitely.
I saw that Clara was saying that related to the climbing, she likes the variety on Scheme B as well.
We were going to vote for Scheme B too. I think both of them are good. But yeah, the idea of the challenge of climbing all of that second one together, I think would be fun.
Any other thoughts before we jump into getting everyone's opinions on some other things?
I'm sorry. So is that a double slide? I guess I missed that part. Is that a double slide on the one of those
I think
is the
both
double
of them had a double slide, right? They just
Yeah.
in different orientations.
Exactly, yeah. So this one
So
has it. And
So
there's,
is it a double slide or it's just two different slides?
There are two slides on Scheme B. One
Okay,
is a
alright.
double and one is a single.
Okay,
Correct,
all right.
Patricia, on Scheme B?
yeah, they both are, they're similar.
So
Yeah.
Scheme A has that too.
Okay, no, I just saw that. Okay, I think it's fine. It's good. Thanks.
One note too, just is that this one does have the bigger spinner. The spinner on B is, here's a photo of it. It's this element that's connected at the end of the string of elements, so.
And more of a single or maybe
Yeah.
two kid used item as opposed to the other spinner that you can pack a whole bunch of kids onto.
Exactly. Okay, well, we can also, again, like the 2 to 5 area, we can continue to talk about this at the end as well.
Patricia, did you talk about the other two elements below that? If you go back to that slide.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So both of them have this set of swings, which has 3 regular belt swings and then the molded bucket seat. And then,
And that's for ADA use, for kids that need it for ADA use.
mhm. And then the seesaw. So this would be in either scheme, this area.
Because we had heard how much everybody missed the seesaw that was taken out.
Tell us if we're wrong, but does everyone love a seesaw?
Yeah, I think everybody loves the seesaw. Yes. Yeah. Now, is that seesaw, is it, I guess it's for adults and for kids, right? So the parent could be with their child, is that correct?
I believe so.
I just
Yeah,
the
I think it's,
some- Okay. I couldn't
yeah, I think
tell.
it's a larger of the seesaws.
And then we just wanted to talk quickly about the water play and the nature or the naturalistic play. So like I mentioned at the beginning, when you come into the park, that kind of central area will have this splash pad. And we like the idea of having a couple kind of higher elements. So that would be this upright jet sprayer, and then having an in-ground piece as well. So this is the ground sprayer.
And so that would bring that from the back of the park up to the front of the park, where there's already a lot of pavement right now that's not used in the front other than for coloring and sidewalk chalk. So this area could be used for the water play in the summertime, and then in the wintertime, it can double for that space of more trike space, more sidewalk chalk area, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And this was just to mention the naturalistic play area to the side of the 2 to 5 year old space that will have mulch and some logs to balance on, as well as boulders. So we can pause here quickly if anyone has any feedback on either the naturalistic play or the water play.
Just to reiterate while people are looking at this too, that one of the reasons we have the naturalistic play here is because it tucks under the edge of all of the existing trees that are on the golf course side of the fence. But we really think that the scale of those existing trees and the shade that they provide will really, right from the get-go, create a nice space there.
Okay, so a question about the water, are they individually triggered?
It would have one push button bollard.
Okay. And then are there benches in the area, or was that the area you just referred to after this one?
There's a picnic bench right here near to the naturalistic area, and then we'll come to a plan and let's see, I can go back to the beginning. Here we go. So this is the location of the water play, and there are benches just right there at the front facing them, as well as a couple of picnic tables.
Okay, thanks.
I was wondering if, will there be, like the sprays that are shown here look like fun for big kids, but little kids sometimes I think like a low pressure, more of like a drip or a little waterfall. Is there going to be anything like that?
Right now, we just have the misters. That's kind of what our space can accommodate right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have
You
the
know what
misters.
oh, sorry,
Oh,
Lisa.
sorry. No, I was going to say there's the mister that comes right out of the ground, so it's a low element. And then on these, it's really hard to see on this squiggle post, but the sort of mist comes out, yeah, pretty low as well. So it sort of zigzags up to the top there.
Are there age ranges on those like there are on the play equipment?
Actually, I don't think there are.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So is the concern that there may be too much for the littler kids? Is that what the concern is?
I just remember when we go to the one over by the ice rink, Ruth from the age of like 1 to 2, I think there's this one that like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more like a little waterfall that kind of sprays out of the ground, and it only comes up like a foot, and it's not really like where you're going to get splashed. It's more of like she wasn't afraid of it like she was with the more like spray-y shower kind of things.
It's
Okay.
maybe more like a bubbler.
Yeah, let us take a look at that because we can make sure that we have a variety in there so that we can have kids comfortable at different age groups.
And do you know this is a technical question, but the time frame, like, do you hit it and it comes on for like so much time, or is there like, I know it's kind of technical for the long term, but just a thought.
I don't know the exact amount of minutes off the top of my head. I want to say it's like a couple, like 2 to 5 minutes or something, and then it turns off. Does that sound right, Lauren?
Yes, I know each of the manufacturers is a little bit different, but that's the right range.
But I think it's exciting to see all what you guys are putting together. I mean, it's a lot of nice equipment there in the space. So I think it'll be exciting for whatever the end result is. So thank you for the hard work.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. We're excited about it too. And we still have more to show you guys.
So I think we'll move on to color, and then if anyone at the end, again, we can chime in on anything else. So we had kind of put together 2 palettes that we were excited about. And so would love to get your feedback on, if one is speaking to you more than another. So this one is more of our spring palette of greens with maybe a pop of color like the orange, and then our silvers and gray. And so this is kind of a variety of renderings of what that could look like. And then the other palette, which you saw in some of the renderings, is our ocean. So more of blues with maybe a pop of this kind of paprika reddish orange, and also some silver elements. So that would be an example of that palette. So I think we just wanted to know, just, does one of these kind of speak to your neighborhood a little bit more? Or is there another reason you have a preference for one of the palettes? But we'd love to hear from you. Can flip back through them all.
Patricia, is am I remembering correctly that the 2 schemes that we looked at earlier side by side are in the 2 different palettes? That might be helpful to see them right next to each other.
Sure.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. This what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess in turn, color is so subjective, but it feels, one thing we didn't want to get wrong was, or we wanted to get right, let me put it that way, was, if there's like a local school or there are certain colors that you can associate with the neighborhood, that would be good to know about. Otherwise, it's really just personal preference.
Yeah, I mean, the school that's around is far away. There is
Mhm.
a school that has a new playground, relatively new, I guess, in second terms. I'm not sure what the color structure is of that one though. Yeah, I'll let somebody else pick on it though.
So Ruthie likes ocean. Spring does blend into the sort of green of the park. I mean, I guess our feeling was you can't go wrong with either one. We thought they were both really nice color palettes. But yeah, good to know just sort of if there's anything else we can refer to or that feels like it really is about the neighborhood, that we just want to make sure we weren't missing.
I guess it depends on how green the grass is going to be with the surrounding areas, with the green or with a blue that would just sort of like not focus a contrast between the 2. So
Right.
but I mean, I like A in respects to what she said, but blue is my favorite color. So
Awesome. Oops. And then I think the last thing that we wanted to get feedback on was the furnishings. So we located them on the plan just to make sure both the types of furnishings and the locations make sense. So when you come in, we have 2 benches at the front and then 2 picnic tables. And then this one has space for a wheelchair to be pulled up. And then next to the 5 to 12-year-old swings and seesaw, another couple benches that kind of look into the space. And then next to the 2 to 5-year-old space, another picnic table that also allows for a space for a wheelchair. So I think we just wanted to hear from you if this layout makes sense for where you'd be, wanting to sit or have your lunch at a picnic table. Any other feedback you have on furnishings? This was the water fountain with the bottle filler.
Now I have a question. So the benches, it's that wire, the one that's there, right? The black with the strand wire thing. That's kind of the way it's gonna be. Okay.
Those are a Boston Park standard. The only thing that's different with that picture is that they also have a center armrest, which helps for older population being able to get up and down easily.
Okay. And do you know, is there other areas where the ground is, let's say, firm? So if they wanted to bring like chairs to have like a larger gathering outside of the play area, like where there's just like you can just put a bunch of chairs down. I'm trying to think of the overall view.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, to the
all
left,
of
top left or whatever, anywhere in that area, or
yeah, so all of the gray would be like just asphalt paths. So I think you could pull up anything more and near these picnic tables. And then this is a grassy area as well that might be good for gathering.
Okay.
I think the other thing to note, Patricia, on there is a lot of the scheme up near the front wall by West Street takes out all of those overgrown shrubs that block the view in. So the wall would stay, but I just wanted to note that that those shrubs would be coming out as part of this plan to help open up the view into the park as well.
Yeah, and I think to your question about sort of other places to, if you wanted to bring a picnic or you have a party and you make friends out here, is that, we hope that the park sort of extending back more will invite you to use the lawn area more. So I think really all of the sort of open space at the back, we hope, will be just attractive for, kicking a ball around or having sort of a larger gathering or flying a kite, but that, what this does is it starts to pull you into the site and it makes the back feel more accessible, so that can be just used as good open space.
so I guess in general, they're just gonna tear everything up that's there, right? I mean, the whole area is gonna be pulled up and then resurfaced to have a nice finish all around, right?
Exactly.
That's what it's like. Okay.
Exactly. Other than the trees, we are going to obviously try to keep as many trees as we can. There are a couple trees that we walked the site with Boston Park's arborist. So doing some pruning for tree health. And then if I remember correctly, Patricia, I know you have all the notes. There were a couple that we were going to remove due to tree health, so that we would then put in, and I believe, Patricia, you can correct me if I'm wrong on here. Those smaller, more olive green trees are new ones that we would be planting to replace any that were coming out for health reasons. But other than the trees that would stay and the walls, that yes, we would be removing everything and replacing with new. There was a question in the chat regarding fencing that someone wanted to make sure that they asked when they had a minute. I'm trying to find it in there, but please feel free to unmute and ask that question. If you can do that quicker, then I can find it.
I think it was Clara said she had a fence and perimeter question when there was a moment for it, so. But
This is Clara. Hopefully there's not too much background noise. We have the toddlers in front of the TV, but I did have questions about the fence. I mean, first of all, is that fence, the chain link fence, going to be replaced?
As part of the project, that wasn't part of the scope. We were just working on the playground itself.
Okay, all right, then that sort of answers the series of other questions related to the fence. One concern that I did have about the wall in the front on West Street, and I'm not great with the directionality, but the downhill side of the wall that that borders West Street. And it's not as big of a deal because you have the older kids, the 5 to 12 year play area on that side, but the wall is quite low. And I definitely have concerns about younger kids climbing over it with the street being so busy there. So I don't know if it would be a consideration to add a section of fence or raise the wall somehow, just so it's not so easily climbed over by younger children. And there, I don't, if you're not replacing the fence, this might not be an issue, but there are a lot of walkers who cut through basically a hole in the fence on the uphill side that borders the golf course in order to walk dogs. And I spoke with a woman who was walking her dog and came through that hole in the fence this afternoon. And she said she just expects that people will just keep cutting a hole. So I don't know if there's any, I mean, this isn't, I realize this probably isn't your domain, but I don't know if there's any consideration to working something out with the golf course so that there's some access. I don't know if that would be a possibility, but thought I would throw it out there now.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up because it is something we've been thinking about. And the golf course is also Boston Parks. So we have been having some internal conversations about it. And I didn't say anything about it because I don't have any definitives yet. But it is something that we're talking about with them in terms of you're right and she's right, the woman that you spoke to, that if we replaced that, it would just get another hole cut in it. And so it's something that we're talking about, and I'd be happy to update you guys in an email once we start to finalize that, which I'm hoping we'll be able to do this winter. But you're absolutely right.
And are you replacing the gates out front, the ones that are there now, or are they being changed to a different kind or something like that?
Yes, those would be replaced.
Another question about the water. Is there, I imagine someone's in control of the water so that like in November, October, when it starts to get really cold, that no longer is it being used, so that way it doesn't become an ice issue? Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So at the in the fall and winter, the water is turned off and all of the pipes are blown out so that it also doesn't crack and cause issues in the pipes as well. And then they're turned back on in the spring by the Parks Department. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. The other thing that we had talked about at one of the first meetings that I'm realizing that we did not cite on the plan, we had talked about there were concerns with dog waste in the back of the park, and we had talked about adding in a dog waste bag dispenser. And we had talked to, there were some neighbors who were interested in potentially helping keep that filled if the Parks Department had dropped off bags. And Patricia, I was just mentally making a note that we did not cite that on the plan when we were talking about where things went. So we should make sure that we make a note to add that back in.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Well, thank you guys all for all of this feedback and this information. Is there anything else that you can think of that we didn't talk about or that we should talk about as we finalize this design?
Um, so signage, I guess, is there like respect the park kind of signs that will be there, or I imagine there's no lights. So I think the street light doesn't necessarily cast. I think there'll be those trees gone in the front bushes. People can see in there. People are hanging out in there. But is there like some kind of signage or some kind of, I don't know, anything along that line, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, there'll be standard park signage. There'll be a name sign that says this is McGann Park. There'll also be a rules sign, which, you know, is the respect your park, you know, no alcohol, you know, that kind of thing. There also will be in each of the play areas, playground safety signage that goes in with our play areas. And then the other thing that we didn't talk about when we talked about the site furnishings is there will also be trash cans as well. So I know that we didn't talk about that, but those will be in the park too.
And is there a phone number like on the sign that if you see something, call? I mean, I know 311 is a standard, but just for people who may feel, you know, not empowered, or someone who may be doing something wrong knows that someone can call on them, kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on there as part of the standard signage. It also has the 311 for things like that, but it also has, you know, call 911 for issues. And then it also has the park address as well as the name, so that people have that information too if they're there and need that for any, you know, emergency or feeling unsafe reasons.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts while we have you guys tonight?
And so how long is the review time when this gets posted up for other people who weren't here tonight to see it and then make comments? And then it goes
Yeah,
to,
that's a good question. So we'll post it on the website, and we usually give it about 2 weeks for comments. And so we'll have that time. So please, again, this will be up within a few days. We have to have it, the video gets translated to a YouTube video that we can post. So once that gets done, it'll be posted on the website, and I can send out an email to you all to let you know that that's been done, so that you can share it with any friends or neighbors that weren't able to make it. Which is also a good plug for if you didn't get an email from me about this meeting and you would like to be on my email list. I'll put my email in the chat, and you guys can make sure you send me an email, and I'll let you guys know whenever that's all posted.
okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you.